As the sun blazed over Iraq in 2003, coalition soldiers, driven by Operation Iraqi Freedom, scoured the vast desert landscapes. Their mission was clear: uncover Saddam Hussein's hidden weapons of mass destruction. But the sands of time had other stories to tell. Strange pieces of modern technology poked through the desert like sphinxes, presenting a riddle that seemed to defy all reason. Photos began to circulate globally, showcasing sophisticated fighter jets, not weathered by time, but buried meticulously in the sand, seemingly ready to take to the skies at a moment's notice. Soldiers, wrapped in desert garb, can be seen swarming the dig, their faces etched with confusion and awe. The mystery deepened when Australian troops, while on a reconnaissance mission near a Baghdad airfield, discovered a trio of MiG-25 Foxbats, some of the most powerful fighters of their era. A testament to Iraq's aerial prowess in the aftermath of the brutal Iran-Iraq War of 1988. The idea that Saddam would bury his best Air Force fighters in his most desperate hour was madness. When asked, U.S. Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld said he wasn't sure how many aircraft had been found, but noted, quote, "It wasn't one or two." The enigma the coalition investigators were about to unravel would unmask a web of chaos and treachery beyond anything they could fathom. Gentlemen, if you're looking to elevate your life, then you've got to hear about Bespoke Post. And listen up, because we've got a special offer for you. Use code DARKDOCS20 for 20% off your first box of awesome. Just click the link in the description below to get started. Bespoke Post is a distinguished monthly membership club that delivers curated boxes of awesome, premium, under-the-radar goods right to your door. And get this, membership is free. Bespoke Post introduces its discerning members to a hand-picked selection of fine products every month. We're talking outdoor gear, barware, knives, and music and tech gear. All of this is tailored to your refined taste, based on a preference quiz. 90% of the products come from small brands, many of which are based right here in the US. Each Bespoke Post box of awesome has a value of around $70, but is available to you for only a fraction of that. It's an exceptional value without compromising quality. Before your box even ships, Bespoke Post gives you a preview. You get to decide whether to keep it, swap it for another box, or skip the month entirely. Ready for Bespoke Post's latest offerings? This month we received the Terra box with an award-winning field knife ready for yard work, camping, fishing, and more. If you're a gadget guy, the Deploy box is your go-to, featuring a keyring toolset with bottle opener and mini lighter. For taco night, the etched box spices up your kitchen game. And don't forget the Weekender bag, a stylish, durable carry-all for the ages. Ready to upgrade your lifestyle and add something to look forward to every month? Visit bespokepost.com/darkdocs20. Offer available for new subscribers only. Empty skies. The first whiff of the mystery hit as the 2003 war in Iraq erupted and coalition forces shattered the skies, meeting eerie silence. No enemy jets, no resistance. The Iraqi Air Force was once one of the most formidable of the Middle East, especially during the 1980s. However, by the time of the 2003 invasion of Iraq by the US and its allies, it was in severe disrepair and internal chaos. After the 1991 Gulf War, the UN imposed severe sanctions on Iraq, including strict limitations on acquiring military equipment. This hampered the country's ability to maintain and upgrade its air force. Furthermore, the establishment of no-fly zones in northern and southern Iraq by coalition forces made it difficult for the Iraqi Air Force to operate in large portions of the country. But despite these obstacles, Iraq still clenched a deadly fleet of 300 warplanes, Soviet-built fighters, with a few of them counted among the fiercest outside the West. As the coalition force drew closer and closer to Baghdad and the demise of Saddam Hussein's regime, a lingering question of the missing Air Force remained unanswered. It would not be until the fall of Baghdad in April that coalition forces would make the puzzling discovery outside the capital. Several MiG-25 fighters and other military equipment were found buried at Al-Taqadum Air Base, west of Baghdad. Satellite imagery initially identified anomalies in the terrain, leading to closer inspection by ground teams. The aircraft appeared to have been concealed to prevent them from being destroyed by airstrikes during Operation Iraqi Freedom. The unearthing was no small feat. The planes were buried under several feet of sand, intentionally hidden to avoid destruction during airstrikes. It was a calculated and deliberate act, carried out using various techniques to keep the aircraft safe from coalition forces. This strange discovery raised more questions than it answered, sparking fears and speculation. If Saddam Hussein had taken such measures to hide these warplanes, he could potentially have gone to greater lengths to hide weapons of mass destruction. A simple solution. The 2003 invasion of Iraq was a definitive moment for the US-led coalition, culminating in victory and the inevitable downfall of Saddam Hussein. Amidst the chaos and triumph, the intentional burial of the Iraqi Air Force, instead of its deployment against the invading troops, opened up a host of questions. US and British officials were quick to provide an explanation, pointing to the antiquated nature of the Iraqi aircraft. The fleet, mainly composed of Soviet MiGs, some older French Mirage fighters, and a few Foxbats and MiG-29 Fulcrums, would have been easily outmatched by the US FA-18 Hornets, B-1 Lancers, or F-15E Strike Eagles. The assessment was that Hussein recognized this disparity and hid the planes to prevent them from facing inevitable destruction. The fear of losing a vital military asset in the Middle Eastern region led to this unprecedented decision. This explanation was not without historical precedent. In 1990, during the invasion of Kuwait, Hussein had similarly miscalculated Western reaction, expecting only sanctions and diplomatic censure. When faced with a formidable military coalition, he concealed several warplanes and other military assets. He even sent aircraft to Iran, a nation with which Iraq had strained relations, expecting to reclaim them later. But most of his hidden planes were eventually found and destroyed by coalition air raids. This initial failure might have sparked the idea to literally bury the planes the second time around. The refusal by Iran to return the 173 aircraft weakened the Iraqi Air Force and set the stage for the events of 2003. The US explanation, written from the vantage point of the victor in this conflict, was widely accepted and became the official account. It was a simple and logical interpretation of an otherwise bizarre military decision. But as time wore on, this explanation began to unravel. New insights and revelations cast doubt on the once clear rationale behind Hussein's decision to bury his air force. The narrative became more intricate and bewildering as the years passed. The coalition's version, though initially convincing, gave way to a more complicated and uncertain understanding. What had once seemed like a straightforward decision now appeared fraught with hidden motives and unforeseen complexities. Treachery and schemes. The mystery of the buried Iraqi warplanes took an unexpected turn as new information came to light, dismantling previous assumptions and beliefs held by the American military. Contrary to the initial conclusion that the aircraft had been buried out of fear of the US, it emerged that this action was a strategic maneuver devised by Hussein himself. As war loomed in 2002, following President Bush's declaration of intent to intervene in Iraq, Hussein's mind was focused not on the approaching external threat, but on something closer to home. Rather than fearing a defeat at the hands of the US-led coalition, Hussein was preoccupied with the possibility of an internal coup or civilian uprising in the aftermath of the war. Documents recovered after the conflict revealed a strategic plan centered not on immediate survival, but on holding on to power in the long term. Hussein believed he would be vulnerable to internal threats if his military forces were depleted in the war. By hiding critical assets like the Air Force, he envisioned swiftly rebuilding his military strength, allowing him to dominate the region again. His fears extended to other regional powers, such as Iran and Israel, but the US and its allies were at the bottom of his list of concerns. Hussein's arrogance and belief in the cult of personality he had developed for decades led him to think that the West would never dare attack Baghdad or abolish his rule. To him, the power and influence he wielded were irreplaceable. This mindset is captured in a telling quote from a conversation he had with his commanders in 1992, where he reflected on the possibility of the US deploying more force. Quote, "They might wonder how much force they need to deploy this time to achieve what they failed to do the last time." But Hussein chose to follow his instincts, expecting weakness from the West. He decided to bury his air force beneath the desert sands to preserve them for the future, when they would rise again to serve his ambitions. The uncovering of the strategic insight adds new layers of complexity to the narrative of the war. It offers a glimpse into the mind of a dictator who, rather than cowering in fear, was playing a long game, looking beyond the horizon of immediate conflict to the consolidation of his power. The Great Misstep. Even as Hussein crafted his audacious plan, there were those among the Iraqi High Command who recognized its folly. The monumental risk of hiding the Air Force and refraining from aerial resistance against an invading force seemed clear to them. These High Command members understood that the West had grown weary of Hussein. They foresaw that overthrowing the dictator would become relatively easy once the Iraqi army was subdued. Yet their concerns were cast aside and disregarded. Hussein assured his commanders that the battle against the coalition would be brief based on a series of calculated assumptions. He believed that Western democracies were susceptible to the influence of public opinion. During the Gulf War, when a tragic misstep led to the bombing of an air raid shelter, public outrage forced the U.S. to refrain from further strikes on Baghdad. Hussein reasoned that any extensive collateral damage caused by the obliteration of Iraqi defenses would result in a similar outcry, leading to a negotiated peace that preserved his rule. In this complex and ever-shifting tale, the hidden warplanes symbolize the blindness of a dictator who played a high-stakes game without truly understanding the rules. A Ghost Air Force. Hussein's gamble to bury his warplanes backfired, leaving them hidden even as his regime crumbled and he fled into the wilderness. As Baghdad fell under coalition control, his concealed assets emerged, leading many to question why he chose to bury his planes instead of deploying them in defense against foreign invasion. Though utilizing his air force would likely have had minimal impact on the outcome of the conflict, the perplexing decision offers insights into Hussein's mindset and his profound underestimation of the Western coalition's strength. The discovery of the buried planes provided significant evidence of Iraq's strategic concealment and was a subject of intense examination. Though externally intact, most aircraft had sustained considerable internal damage due to inadequate protection against the harsh Iraqi desert. Many were found non-operational, with conditions ranging from partial dismantling to damage caused by prior wear or their burial method. The aircraft's fate was determined by their state and the coalition's needs and priorities. Some were likely destroyed on site, deemed useless or potential risks. Others may have been further dissected for intelligence on Iraqi military capabilities or utilized for training. What became utterly clear is that even if Hussein's plans had succeeded, his Ghost Air Force would never have flown again. Without an air force to defend his interests, his hold on power was doomed to fail. Support Dark Docs, and don't forget to try our incredible offer from Bespoke Post. Elevate your lifestyle with curated boxes of premium goods tailored just for you. Remember, use code DARKDOCS20 for 20% off your first box of awesome. Click the link in the description below and become a part of this distinguished club.